Jimmy Butler has officially been traded to the Golden State Warriors in a deal centered around Andrew Wiggins. If you want the full trade details, just pause the video, they're on the screen. But the big question is, can the Warriors win another championship with Jimmy Butler? Is this Steph Curry's last dance? Hey, it's Mike. We're right in the middle of NBA trade season, so if you want to stay in the loop, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, before the deadline, the Warriors were linked to a few All-Stars, so why did they go all in on Jimmy Butler? What makes them think he's the missing piece? It's a tough trade to judge right now. Jimmy's 35, and his stats this season have dipped. He's averaging 17 points, 2 rebounds, and 8 assists. That's his lowest scoring since year 4. Is he just mentally checked out in Miami? Maybe. There were even rumors back in December that he was changing his hair color before games to quietly signal which teams he wanted to join. So yeah, his focus might have been elsewhere. Still, I'm not hitting the panic button. Jimmy has always been a different animal in the playoffs. He's built his entire legacy on turning it up when it matters most. Yes, he's a 6-time All-Star and 5-time All-NBA player, but it's playoff Jimmy the Warriors are banking on. Right now, the Warriors are 25-24 and sitting 10th in the West. Steph knows he doesn't have forever. He wants to compete for rings now. And once they get into the playoffs, are you really betting against Steph and Jimmy? Look at the numbers. In the 2022 and 2023 regular seasons, Jimmy averaged 2 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 7 steals per game. Solid. But in the playoffs, he jumped to 27. 1 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and nearly 2 steals. That's MVP-level production. Jimmy's a guy who doesn't just handle pressure, he lives for it. He's shown time and time again that he can be the best player on the court in any playoff series, unless he's up against someone like peak LeBron. And if you need a reminder, just rewind to the 2023 playoffs. Remember that shot?
The lob for Jimmy, makes the catch, put it up and in! He put it up and in!
Let's rewind to the 2023 playoffs. The Miami Heat were the 8th seed, going up against the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks, a team led by Giannis Antetokounmpo and fresh off a title just 2 years earlier. But Jimmy Butler didn't flinch. He hit a crazy buzzer beater to force overtime in Game 5, and then helped Miami pull off a shocking upset, beating the Bucks in just 5 games. In that series alone, Jimmy averaged 37, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 8 steals per game, while shooting nearly 60% from the field, against the best team in the league. That's wild. Performances like that are why some people jokingly call him Michael Jordan's son. And with that win, the Heat became just the 6th seed in NBA history to knock out a 1 seed in the first round. But Jimmy wasn't done. He led Miami past the Celtics too, taking the Heat to the finals for the 2nd time since joining the team. So now the question is, can he still play at that level? Honestly, it looks like he can. Yes, his regular season numbers are down this year, but maybe that's more about motivation. When you look a little deeper, the advanced stats tell a different story. Even though he's had the lowest usage rate of his Heat career this season, his true shooting percentage is sitting at 63.8%, the 2nd best mark of his entire career. That ranks 20th in the NBA, and his win shares per 48 minutes, 232, the 4th best of his career, and if he had played enough games to qualify, that would actually rank him 5th in the entire league. So yeah, Jimmy Butler at 35 is still elite. The only question now is, can he keep it up at 36, at 37? Time will tell, but let's talk about the other side of this trade. What's the risk? Before the deal happened, there were reports that both Steph Curry and Steve Kerr had concerns about how Jimmy might fit in with the Warriors' locker room. That's definitely something to watch. Quick break. Shout out to today's sponsor, DraftKings. With Super Bowl 59 around the corner, now's the perfect time to jump in with DraftKings Sportsbook. Links in the description. Alright, back to basketball. On the court, there's no question. Jimmy Butler is an upgrade. Andrew Wiggins was a big part of the Warriors' 2022 championship run, no doubt. But this season, his numbers have dipped even below those of 35-year-old Butler. So yeah, Jimmy brings more on the floor, and personality-wise, Jimmy is all about intensity. toughness, and pressure. He wants the big moment. Wiggins is more laid back. When it comes to that raw competitive fire, most people would take Butler over Wiggins. Maybe everyone, except Wiggins' parents. So, why the chemistry concerns? It mostly comes from the drama he's leaving behind in Miami. We won't go too deep into the Heat side of this deal, because honestly, it stings for them. Yes, they save some money and get flexibility, but they've clearly taken a step back as a team. They don't have a real path to a title anymore. Then again, some would say they didn't have one with Jimmy either. But let's be real, Jimmy meant something to Miami. He gave them everything. 2 finals runs, all the grit, all the heart. He became a fan favorite. That said, it wasn't always smooth sailing. There were definitely some rough moments, like this clip from the Heat bench during the 2022 season. Udonis Haslem isn't the kind of guy who blows up for no reason. So when he got into it with Jimmy Butler on the Heat bench during the 2022 season, yeah, people took notice. And let's be real, calling Jimmy Butler confident is an understatement. The man has a huge ego. But that ego, it's also what turned him from the 30th overall pick into one of the biggest names in the NBA. That mindset, the toughness, the belief, the chip on his shoulder, has been a gift to teams like the Heat, especially in those everything-on-the-line playoff moments. Still, it hasn't always been smooth. And honestly, one moment that really sums up who Jimmy Butler is comes from JJ Redick's podcast.
Do you think I'm, just that hard to work with?
When Jimmy Butler asked JJ Redick on his podcast if he was hard to work with, you could feel the tension. JJ looked uncomfortable. He clearly didn't want to say the wrong thing. And honestly, that says a lot. It's no secret the Sixers messed up by choosing Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons over Jimmy. The results speak for themselves. Since then, Jimmy's led the Heat to 2 NBA Finals. The Sixers? They still haven't made it past the second round. This is the Jimmy Butler experience. Elite talent, unmatched playoff toughness, and yeah, a strong personality that not every organization can handle. He left Philly after hearing the front office was asking around to see if they could control him. Jimmy's response? Simple. I'm a grown man. Why do you want to control me? But to be fair, this isn't just a Philly thing. Jimmy's had rocky exits everywhere he's played. We've covered the Sixers, but did you know something similar happened back in Chicago? Just listen to what he reportedly told his coach, Fred Hoiberg.
Jimmy wasn't getting along with Coach Hoiberg. But last game, Jimmy got attacked. Jimmy was upset. Coach Hoiberg is like, Jimmy, this starts with me and you. What's going on? And then Jimmy goes, well, 1, I think you're soft. 2, I don't like you. And Coach Hoiberg was like, well, then you, Jim.
And there was his wild stint with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jimmy had already asked for a trade that summer. He thought Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins were just too soft. And instead of reporting to training camp, he stayed in shape by running pickup games at a local Lifetime Fitness. But then came one of the craziest moments of his entire career. On the same day, he scheduled a national TV interview with Rachel Nichols. Jimmy showed up to Timberwolves practice, unannounced. And what happened next became NBA legend. He grabbed a bunch of third stringers, guys who barely got minutes, and torched the starters in a scrimmage. During the run, he reportedly looked straight at the GM and yelled, "You bleeping need me. You can't win without me." Then, just like a mic drop, Jimmy hit the showers, sat down for his ESPN interview, and bounced. That was it. Classic Jimmy.
I run the locker room like, Jimmy, bring your ass back out. We want to play again. Jimmy gone. Jimmy gone. Jimmy at home. We go in the locker room, ESPN pop up.
You know what time it is?
Rachel Nichols and Jimmy Butler on TV. We like, what the? He like, yeah, I just killed them at practice and I think they all good players. We like, what? Hold on.
With everything we've seen from Jimmy Butler over the years, it makes sense why the Warriors might have a few concerns. I mean, let's be real. They already have Draymond Green, a guy who's known for butting heads with teammates. Let's not forget, Kevin Durant literally left the team after clashing with Draymond. So yeah, adding another strong personality like Jimmy, it's a bold move. But to be fair, outside of that heated moment with Udonis Haslem a couple of years ago, Jimmy's time in Miami was mostly drama-free, until this season. The issue this year was pretty simple. Jimmy wanted a contract extension. Miami didn't want to give it to him. After leading the Heat to 2 NBA Finals, Butler felt like he deserved to get paid. But Pat Riley thought he was too old to invest in long-term. Clearly, the Warriors disagreed, because they're paying him now. And look, this wasn't the cleanest exit. But if we're being honest, Miami let Jimmy down too. He had been asking for help ever since their first finals run in 2020. Even when Damian Lillard said Miami was his preferred destination, Pat Riley and the front office couldn't close the deal. They were the favorites to get Dame, and somehow they dropped the ball. Then last year, after Jimmy said he believed the Heat could beat the Celtics, Riley went public with criticism.